Sorry, something's funny. My name is Fred E.G.
And do I have your permission to videotape this interview and share it with my psychology class on aging?
Absolutely.
How old are you, or if you prefer, what is your age range?
I'm really old. 77 and three quarters,
Okay.
but I'm not nearly old enough.
What is your most common breakfast, and what time do you eat breakfast?
My most common breakfast, I probably 97% of the time, I have oatmeal, toast, and yogurt, maybe a little bit of coffee with it.
Okay. What is your most common dinner, and what time do you eat dinner?
Um, well, back to the breakfast thing. Almost always these days have breakfast about 9:30, and dinner at 5:30 to 6, and normally probably 40 34 30 or 40% of the time we have chicken, and then other days we have some form of bean soup, and then occasionally, maybe once a week or so, we have some type of fish.
Okay. What is your common go-to snack, and how many times per week do you eat that favorite snack?
Popcorn, and eat it maybe 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay. What age range do you define as babies? And what specific characteristics define babies?
I missed part of that question. What
age range do you define as babies? And what specific characteristics describe babies?
Babies.
Babies? Oh,
Babies.
babies. Baby would be usually 20, no, 0 to 1. And characteristics, not walking, maybe jabbering a little bit, but not walking. Once they're walking, they become toddlers.
What age range do you consider to be young, and what specific characteristics describe people who are young?
Young is probably 30 or under, down to babies and toddlers. And characteristic, full of vim, vigor, and vitality, and make haphazard decisions from time to time. There you go.
I think that's about right.
Yeah.
What age range do you consider to be middle-aged, and what specific characteristics describe people who are middle-aged?
Well, somewhere between being young and obviously being old. So Mental age runs up to somewhere around 65, probably. And characteristics, should be more even-minded, plan things out, that type of thing.
What age range do you consider to be old, and what specific characteristics describe people who are old?
Well, old in reality is anybody who's older than I am is older, but people, at least when they're probably your age, think of somebody as being old is when they're probably 55 or 60. They think of them as being old. But you're only as old as you feel. So if you're 80 years old and you don't feel old, you're not really old. You're just 80. If you're 90 and you don't feel old, you're really not old. You just happen to be 90. So that's the way I feel about it.
You're just a young person who happens to be 90. If you're 90 and don't feel old.
Can a young person who feels old, feels 90? Is that what you said?
No.
No, if you're 90 and you don't feel old, then you're just a young person who happens to be 90.
That's what you said.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
What
you.
are the goals you want to accomplish in the next month, the next year, and the next 4 years?
The next month. Well, this is personal. Obviously be alive. Secondly, I want to get back on the golf course and play golf. And in the next year, I'd like to do that once or twice a week. And in 4 years, I still want to be alive, and I still want to be playing golf, and I still want to have a good outlook on life. Be healthy. I want to be healthy. So,
Gotcha.
okay.
If you could go back 5 or 10 years ago and give yourself a piece of advice, what would that information be?
Chill out a lot more, and it's still work in progress. So,
I think that's a good piece of advice.
yeah.
Do you still have your priority list?
Okay, so
Here.
my lovely bride happened to write it down.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, number one for me is family. Family created. A1. And where did it go? Major love relationship. They're really all together. You can't. Yeah, they're just all together. It's one group. So number 1, 2, and 3 are all of those, and then whatever's next is number 4.
Okay.
which is probably money and career are 4 and 5, and health, no, money, career, and education, 4, 5, and 6, and health. And it's probably all messed up because you got to have health to do any of it. So we'll go with health number 2, and pardon my changing here, and money, career, and education, put them all together at number 3, 4, and 5. And then what last? There is nothing last. What is that?
Those are my notes.
What is that?
Hobbies?
Hobbies? Yeah, hobbies would be last. But it's vitally important for your ongoing health.
Okay.
And Bo wants to go outside, so there's that.
Okay. What were you focused on 20 years ago, and what made you happy then?
What was I focused on 20 years ago?
Yes.
My work. And then Judy and I having fun occasionally. But realistically, it was my work. Because without money, you can't do much.
That's true.
And I didn't have Bo back then, so there's that.
If that made you happy then, what makes you happy now?
I didn't understand you. Say that
That
again.
made you happy then. What makes you happy now?
What makes me happy now? My bride, my dog, and family. Getting together and playing cards with Judy's brother and his wife, and taking old Bo out and doing stuff with him, and taking old Judy out and doing stuff with her. So,
All right, final question. What is something happening now that you would not expect when you were in your 20s or 30s?
well, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I was a part-time Republican who voted for who or the heck I felt like voting for. But I was, and still am, on paper, a Republican. I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat now. And what's happened is, among other things, Donald Trump. When he first came on the scene, it was like, nah, there's no way in hell he will ever get to be president. Whoops, what the heck happened? You know, he's here now. And I probably got to keep this relatively clean.
Yes.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Well, the asshole that he is has totally ruined the world as we know it. Back 20 or 30 years ago, politics were pretty simple. You voted for the president that you liked, and he would do some things that, or her, of course, there's not a her yet, so he would do some things that you either liked or you didn't like. And if you didn't like it, you'd vote for somebody else the next time, get a new president. And they weren't that much different. They just kind of melded together. One would do something, the other would come in and change it a little bit. And that went on up until Trump became president. And now it's where he's going is just um, against our allies, for our sworn enemies, i.e., Russia. So that would be the big difference that I just literally hate. Okay.
All right. I think that was very succinct. Thank you, Grandpa.
You're welcome, grandson. So
May I talk to Grandma now?
here's that other lady here. Yeah. The other lady? No, the lady.
Oh, he's so funny.
Okay, I'm going to have to leave.
Okay, I've got to keep your phone.
Yeah,
So lock the door.
I know.
Okay. All right. I'm here.
All right, Grandma. What is your name?
My name is Judy E.G.
Bubba.
And do I have your permission to videotape this interview and share it with my psychology class on aging?
Yes, you do.
You ready to go outside?
How old are you? Or if you prefer, what is your age range?
I'm 72.
And what is your most common breakfast and what time do you eat breakfast?
Most common breakfast is yogurt, toast, sometimes fruit, and coffee.
What is your most common dinner and what time do you eat dinner?
We usually eat dinner around 6. Most commonly, we have chicken and vegetable, and sometimes a salad, sometimes another vegetable.
And what is your most common go-to snack? And how many times per week do you eat that favorite snack?
Oh gosh. I have to pick out one, right?
Just one.
Okay, let's go with vanilla wafers.
That's a good one.
Yep.
What age range do you define as babies? And what specific characteristics define babies?
I would define the babies as probably under 18 months. Oh, and characteristics.
Yes.
Yeah, they could be laying in the crib, they could be crawling, they could be walking, they could be jabbering, and I suppose those basically would be characteristics.
Okay. What age range do you consider to be young, and what specific characteristics describe people who are young?
People who are young, that's going to be people who are probably under 50. Characteristics would be a lot of change going on, working on education, working on their careers, jobs, creating families, creating children, a lot of those types of things that they'd be working on as they try to build their lives.
What age range do you consider to be middle-aged, and what specific characteristics describe people who are middle-aged?
Middle age would be 50, I would say up to 65, 70, and they are typically still working on their careers. Changes are happening in that their children are getting older and maybe leaving home, and establishing their own lives. Sometimes the middle-aged people have more time to do things that they think are fun that are not necessarily connected to their children. And that would be it.
All right. What age range do you consider to be old, and what specific characteristics describe people who are old?
Old, probably, because I don't feel like I'm old yet, maybe 80 to 90 would be old. And they're by now not working anymore. They're chilling out, relaxing, doing things they want to do more often, and just enjoying their own lives.
All right. What are the goals you want to accomplish in the next month, the next year, and the next 4 years?
In the next month, I want to be walking good on my new knee. That's going to be my major goal. In a year, I hope to be healthier, exercise more, and hopefully walking better on my new knee and my other knee. 2 bad knees. We want 2 good knees. And 4 years,
Yes.
to have all this joint stuff behind me and be able to get out and do what I want to do and not have to worry about the physicality of it.
All right. If you could go back 5 or 10 years and give yourself a piece of advice, what would that advice be?
It would be to exercise more, to stay healthy by eating better, and spend more time doing things I want to do.
I think that's good advice. Do you still have your priority list?
Yes, I do.
All right. What are those priorities?
Okay, you want the sequence of them?
Yes,
Okay.
and your reasoning for why they're there.
Okay. I think I kind of, in looking at it today, kind of looking at it in a chronological way, in that education is probably number 1 because that's the basis of your entire life. Health would fall right in there with that because your health and your education work together to enable you to establish your springboard for your life. Hobbies would contribute joy to that life, and then consequently money would enable you to do the other things in life that you want to do, such as or maybe career would come first and then the money. So you'd be able to do the things you want to do. And then you're going to end up in a situation of probably the family that you are creating as you get older. Your husband, your wife, your children as they grow older. And probably your family of origin would really bump in there as number 1 because that's where the whole thing starts, with your parents and your siblings. And then lastly would be your major love relationship, because, for example, in the case of me and your grandpa, we were not together initially in our created family, but after we both had created families and had children and been married, then life led us back together, so that in our and I'm not sure major is the correct word either, but in our love relationship, we have all those other things to enjoy that have come out of all those different facets of our life. So we have that together now.
Well, I think that's a good answer.
Well, thank you.
What were you focused on 20 years ago, and what made you happy then?
Focus-
So this would be 2005.
Focused on marriage with your grandpa. It was fairly new at that time. Focused on melding two different families together, my kids, his kids, and we were at that point beginning to have grandkids together that are ours, and a career also. I think for me the career was never the primary thing. It was important but not primary. I think the family and the kids, grandkids, those were primary things back then.
Okay. So what makes you happy now?
Now I enjoy spending time with your grandpa most of the time. And that's a joke. And I enjoy spending time with all of our kids and with our grandkids and with our new great-granddaughter, Charlie.
Yes.
And those are the things that really bring us the most joy. Was our time, it's all the people in our life that we love, each other and our families and all the children that we have together. Children including everybody.
Okay. And final question. What is something when you were in your 20s or 30s today that you did not think would happen or that shocks you?
Oh, that's definitely that your grandpa and I eventually got together and got married, fell in love, got married, and have this big old family that we have today.
Well, I think that's definitely a less divisive idea than Grandpa's.
Yeah. I agree.
I appreciate you guys letting me interview you again after the first time didn't work.
Well, you're more than welcome. We're happy to be able to do this with you. It's been fun. Makes us think.
All right. Well, that's all I got.
Okay, kiddo. We'll get her turned in.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you, Grandma.
We'll talk to you soon. We love you.
Love you too.
Okay.
Talk to you later.
Okay. Bye-bye.
See you, buddy.
Bye, Grandpa.
Bye-bye.
See ya.